Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Jackz and Jackz stream. We have a special guest on the night. He's been very, very busy this weekend. He's done his Christmas streams yesterday morning, which you can check out. Maybe Steve Craig can throw them in for us. I've done a bit of a Christmas stream last night. And then was on Bonnie Lads last night with their usual show, which was really good, really entertaining. And then we had 42 afterwards, which was pretty good. But he's that late at night. I'm sitting there going, time to go to sleep. So I get most of it, and then I pick the rest of it the next day. Right. Good evening, Jack, London.
Evening, fella. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Sensum,
excellent.
It was the same.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Right. So there we go. Everybody's in the room.
Right. Can I just start with a big congratulations to my partner's son and his partner who had their baby boy this afternoon. 7 pounds,
awesome.
13 ounces, and he's a fine specimen of a lad. So that's my partner's first grandchild. So
7 pounds.
Yeah,
that's cheap.
Yeah.
Them African man's
I don't know what the euro conversion is.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. That sort of stuff lifts my heart, because I was driving down into the town today, into Little's to pick up a few things, and there was a father with a pram and a wee guy on a bike pedaling out in front, and a wee girl on a scooter. And he had the pram in one hand and he was holding on to her with the other hand, and wee fellow was just off doing his thing. But he wasn't too far away, But apparently we're in a decline. Nobody's having children anymore. Well, there's one guy with 3. And you see it all the time here. So, see who I have in. We've sent some communum in the chat. Toffee and Steve Cray and Otto. Saxon's in. Who else? Raymond Piper. Harold Stewart's in. I still haven't figured out who Harold is. 42's in. Cracking stream last night. There's Emma G's in. Adopted Ulster woman. Raymond Piper. Right, anyway. I've a bit of a show to put together with different bits and pieces. I just wanted to get the lads' opinions on them, and we can sort of show it. Amanda Lee's in. Evening, Amanda. I'll play the clip, and then I'll get your guys' opinions on it. If that works for you, we can go ahead with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is Beggar's Belief, and there's my electric just started to bleep.
No, that's mine.
Was it? That's yours? Fucking right, because I only put 25 quid in the other day. Right, so here we go. Share screen. And that goes to there. Beggar's Belief.
Here we go again. Every day, I think. Surely it can't get any worse. Then it gets even worse. Yesterday, I told you about the 4-star hotel in central Ipswich being used to house illegal boat migrants. 4-star? That's for peasants. The Sun reports that the government is now using some 5-star hotels to house illegal migrants at taxpayer expense of £7 million a day. 1 in 4 of the hotels used to house them are rated in the top brackets, denoting class, and some high-end resorts nationwide are being booked for months. Home Office officials are sitting refreshing booking.com in the hunt for more capacity, a source said, pushing up prices for Brits looking to go away at Christmas and the New Year as supply dwindles. Great Hallingbury Manor, a 4-star Tudor-style hotel in Essex, is now being used to house migrants. It has 44 double rooms, 20 rooms and chalets in its wooded grounds, and its own lake, picnic area and barbecue. That's better accommodation than most Brits can afford. But get this, it's still not good enough for the migrants. According to one employee, quote, they have the run of the hotel, the bedrooms are very comfortable, 3 meals a day, but some have complained about the food. No doubt they're whining about the Wi-Fi connection too. Maybe the evening turn-down service just isn't up to par. The employee also revealed, quote, there are about 50 men, all between 20 to 40, from North Africa. Again, all young men, no women or children, economic migrants, not refugees. Another hotel being used for the same purpose is the Dolphin Inn beside the River Great Ouse in St. Ives. Inside the hotel, which has a glorious view opposite a 15th century bridge, they could be seen enjoying digital big screen TVs and using gym gear moved into their rooms. One local said people used to spend a fortune to stay here or live along the river, so they're doing very well. Meanwhile, new census data reveals that 1 in 6 people now living in England and Wales were born in a foreign country. This was all started by the Blair government and rapidly accelerated by the Tories. And yet there's still more outrage about overcrowding at the Manston facility and Suella Braverman using a mean word. Get early.
Right, gentlemen, your thoughts? Sensum.
I'll let you go first, Sensum, mate.
Okay, then. Well, first of all, it's an absolute disgrace, but we already know that, yeah? And they're annexing hotels all over the place. And I don't know if you guys are in Northern Ireland are getting, but I've had 2 in the space of, I've had 2 letters come through. Now, I don't know if there's no official logo, and the typesetting and the telephone numbers, which are 2 mobile numbers, which is always very suspicious, no landline. Which basically, but both of them came through with virtually the same message on, and it said, if you're ever considering selling your property, because like I say, where I live, it's still, pretty homogenous. It hasn't been infected like the likes of Luton, Leicester, London, all them lot. Manchester, Birmingham. Now it's still fairly homogenous. We're quite poor because it's an old mining community, but we're still fairly homogenous. But obviously, the properties around here are, in the scheme of things, against the national average, are very low. So we got these letters come through, and they basically were saying, if you're ever considering, if you're considering selling your home or whatever, we'll buy at the going evaluation rate, no questions asked, irrespective of if it needs any work doing on it. If you're interested, then please call, like Dave or Ron on these numbers. And then another one come through, and like I say, it was a different typesetting. Once again, no logo and just 2 mobile numbers. And I genuinely believe. So we've got the hotel items being annexed now. But what I reckon is that either privateers, and whether the name's Dave or Dinesh, or you know what I mean, or whether it's Arthur or Ahmed, doesn't really make any difference. What I myself personally, I think that Serco, the evil demonic Serco under Winston Churchill's grandson, that's Soames's character, nefarious character, kickback monger central. I reckon they've got agents doing this in relatively depressed areas because they know they can pick up properties. Mine's just a fairly bog standard 2 up, 2 down, effectively. Nout special. But because it's it's an older property. I think it was either 40s or 50s property. The rooms are quite big, so they could subdivide these rooms into wherever they wanted. So I wouldn't be surprised if you've got the likes of these nefarious agents from Serco, and hence why there are no logos and no landlines or anything for you to find out, because they want to do it on the sly. They want to annex. So whether it could be privateers, basically what they do is they want to pick up cheap properties, patch them up, just so that they are, even if they're in disrepair, just so they're habitable, put a bang load of migrants in them, or illegal invaders, we should really call them, put a bang load of those in and get paid off the government, 300 nicker a week or a month or whatever it is.
I'll jump in here a wee quick second.
Hey?
I'll jump in a wee quick second here. There was did you see the thing on the news about the hotels? And people are buying up old, dilapidated hotels.
Yes, and doing them up, yeah.
People of a certain ethnicity are buying up these hotels. You know, these people that are now businessmen in Britain.
Yeah, well, like I say, you find that, unfortunately. A lot of landlords, particularly landlords in Newcastle. I don't know so much around where I am because I'm sort of south of Newcastle, but a lot of landlords in Newcastle don't seem to have Smith or Jones or Brown as a surname, shall we say? And well, like I say, you know that if you had the laws of, say, Singapore or Thailand, you're not allowed to own property there if you're a foreigner. So,
yep.
Anyway.
I'll address this from Saxon. In the Republic of Ireland, they wanted to bring in, the government wanted to force it's in a time of war law, whereby they can take your property. Yeah. So if you're a businessman in Dublin that worked all your days and you have your family and stuff, and you maybe bought a wee cottage down on the West Coast, they can take that property off you to house migrants in.
Yeah, I saw Dave Cullen report on that one probably about 6 months ago. They were talking about it, and then they did it, didn't they? They didn't do any consultation. They'll never ever consult the public. I mean, I think they got once bitten, twice shy with Brexit, so they'll never consult the public on a decision that they know the public will say, no, you're not doing that. Because like I say, as it stands now, we've still slightly got the numbers, so the backlash would be immediate and resounding. It'd make the Brexit vote look like a tickle in comparison.
The latest thing from the Dáil was residents of a certain area in Ireland cannot complain or protest them housing illegal immigrants in their area. They're taking over. I have videos of it. I'll show them in a bit. I think Brooke's seen them, where they're taking business blocks, and putting 2 beds in a cubicle and housing them in there, and they're walking off the buses, laughing at the locals. The people filming them coming off.
Yeah. So you watch now, right? And this is where it comes in, because a lot of the buildings, or some of the buildings, I people who are in the building trade who've wanted to. There's a famous property. Well, not a property, but it was an old church, and about 3 or 4 years ago, the developer said, "I would very much like to, refurb the old church, but actually, make it into flats, a set of flats, basically. But it would have been flats for us, us kind of people. It wouldn't have been for hoi polloi. It would have just been ordinary people's flats." And council after council flatly refused. Oh no, we couldn't possibly do that. They ended up getting burnt down. So through arson. But it had been stood there for 5-10 years at the very least, like an abandoned wreck sort of thing. And like say somebody had the idea, well, the church doesn't want it, we will purchase it off. Whether it was the council, whether it was the Church of England, and we will turn it into a set of flats. And even had the plans and everything on what they're going to do and how they're going to segment the building up. And it looked great because, they could have literally made, I think, something like 8 flats. I think there was 8 flats and one slightly larger flat towards, where the eaves and that would have been ordinarily. But they would have been flats that, it would have been, I know this is going to sound a lot, but they would have been less than, it would have been between like 50 and 100 grand. It wouldn't have been, because it literally would have been, a living room, kitchen area, or living room, combined kitchen area, bedroom and a bathroom. That was the kind of outlay that they were talking about. So, slightly better than a bed sit, but not much. But it wouldn't have been horrifically expensive, and they poo-pooed it. Well, that church got, done with arson, and then it was, they put steel fences all over around it. Now, the fire only happened 3 or 4 months ago, max. And the day after, obviously, when it was safe and they made sure it was, the fire brigade and that made sure it was safe, all of the wire fences were around. And then the next time, about 2 or 3 weeks later, the whole thing had been demolished because it was unsafe. Yeah. Now, that particular area now has been snipped up by a developer, but they're going to put hoi polloi gaffs on there.
Yeah.
Or, given the current climate, I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck in a set of pods to put migrants in there, because that's where the money is. Because the government will throw money hand over fist these days to home people who've got no right to even be here. And that's where I think either privateers, whose names may not be, contact Dave and Arthur, or are a front for, Soames's Serco bods, trying to annex inexpensive properties to convert them and maximise their earning potential. I mean, Serco's getting paid a fortune anyway, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of that money that they are using was being diverted to buy out all these properties. But the net result is the same. It doesn't matter if it's a privateer or if it was a nefarious Serco type. That basically removes the normal housing stock, the inexpensive housing stock that our people, our most needy people, would have ordinarily levitated to, either through rental or trying to get onto the property ladder, because they're not, like I say, they're not expensive. And these people know if they were to pay 5-10% over the book value on a property, they'll make that difference back in a year anyway by scamming the government 300 quid a month per migrant. Do you know what I mean? So it's absolutely disgraceful. And let me tell you an even more insidious thing about the food, yeah? They've got these, basically, the government or Serco, well, it'd be good Serco doing it on behalf of the government. They'll contact hotels and say, look, we'll guarantee you a cool X million for the next year or the next 18 months or the next 2 years. And obviously, if you're a businessman, and especially if you're a businessman with no loyalty to this country, like I say, if your surname's not Jones, Brown or Smith or something like that, you're going to take your hands off because it's just pure profit. You haven't got to keep the building upkeep, because if they wreck the place, Serco will have to repair it. So it's money for old road. But one of the absolutely demonic sides of that is, as soon as they get their hands on this hotel, the first thing that they tell the management staff is, right, now sack all of your employees because we're going to put our own people in. And what they put in as their own people is another set of immigrants to man these things. So you've got immigrants managing other immigrants. So we are paying 4- and 5-star hotel money, which would have ordinarily had 4- and 5-star hotel staff like the chef and the other staff, the cleaners, etc. And Serco goes, no, sod them off. We're not paying their wages because they're a bit expensive. We're going to get, some more sweatshop labour that shouldn't even be here once again to do the general upkeep in the food. So that's why the food ordinarily in those places, in those hotels, is absolutely stunning. But you have to think, and people think, well, that's not a very good advert for a so-called hoi polloi hot posh hotel. No, because it's scumbags who are actually cooking the food. It's illegals. Well, not illegals, sorry, but it's economic migrants who have no right being here, who are employed at the most minimum level possible, because that's how Soames and Serco managed to maximise their profit out of our tax money. Yeah.
Sensum, you never touched on the other point of why they're getting rid of them people out of the hotels and bringing in their own people. You see these citizen journalists going around to the hotels and there's like freaking guy Brown with a big massive beard and all that. You can't film here. You can't film here. But the people that they're bringing in to look after them people in the hotel have to be.
Yeah, well, they're told. Well, basically,
halal meat.
Well, it's not. Well, whether that's the case or not with halal meat, I don't give a shit. What I'm saying is that they replace staff who had normal jobs. Yeah. And do you think they'll be getting top drawer redundancy? Of course they won't. They're getting thrown out on their ear just before Christmas. They're getting nothing. They basically go straight onto what the state can provide. So effectively, the state pinches money from our pocket to pay nefarious actors like Serco to annex buildings and properties to house people who shouldn't even be here, this illegal invasion. They immediately then boot out a set of working people back onto the system So who pays for them? Well, the taxpayer pays them. So we pay twice effectively. We're paying to house illegals who shouldn't even be here. We are paying the wages of economic migrants to run these places on behalf of Serco at minimum book value wages. And then we also are paying out of the exchequer once again for these people's benefits who've now been put onto the dole in effect. So it's a triple whammy out of our arse pocket, and it's a treble bonus for Serco. Absolutely, and nobody queries that in the mainstream media. They know it's happening and they know it does it. And they say, and these migrants are going to the hotel. Yeah, well, why are they doing this? Well, they've been told to. Yeah, but why? Who's telling them to boot out the existing staff? And once again, it's some other bollocks thing like, oh, well, we're doing that for their safety. Yeah, bullshit. You're doing it because you don't want to keep on paying those people the wage that they would have ordinarily attracted. In fairness, a lot of the people who did work there probably would think, right, I'm going to try and find something else because I don't want to be intermingling with a bunch of illegals who's likely to turn around and smack you in the face or try and abuse you some way or another. Because that's just cultural, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's always the excuse. If one of these types kick off or get a bit touchy-feely, there's no outrage there. It's just, it's just their culture. We haven't educated them. We need to let them know about the old no space. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable, and it's absolutely demonic in what they're doing. And like I say, there's only us and people in these circles who are even mentioning anything about it. Yeah, you've got Paul Joseph Watson there, who's talking about the hotels being replaced, but he doesn't go that extra mile. He doesn't say, the food shit because essentially they've got people in there, who weren't working there originally. They're just sort of off the street, could be doing anything. Well, so like I say, pardon?
There was one video last week that somebody had sent, and it was Irish people interviewing, just going up to them and talking to them in the street and saying, where did you come from? And your man says, London. He says, how are you a refugee? I was working in London. He said, where's your paperwork? I don't have any. So he's done something in London and the fuzz are looking for him. This is just my own opinion. And the next best thing he can do is jump on a ferry or jump on a 27-pound flight across to Dublin and land in Dublin and claim asylum there then. So it becomes the Irish's problem. But we'll bring in Jack because we've been going for 24 minutes and he hasn't said a word.
Well, it was a very, very concise answer from Sensum there. So I was just listening and I echo every sentiment he says, but I will as well. And it's just building on what Sensum said. These people who've set up their nest eggs with buy-to-let properties, this is a dream come true for them. Guaranteed rent over the odds, maintenance is going to be paid for, and a lot of them are already not indigenous to these islands anyway. A lot of them are, Indian businessmen, Pakistani businessmen. Certainly is in my old hometown anyway. So it's a dream come true for them because they have no patriotism or allegiance to this place, so it doesn't matter. Also, I'll add, we absolutely have the means to deal with this situation. We have from day one. We just haven't got the will.
No,
the will's not there from the people.
I'll correct you, Jack. We don't have a government with a backbone to do anything about it. We're a nation of wolves led by sheep, basically.
I'll tell you something now, mate. It's worse than that, and I'm full on board with Neil Oliver and Morgoth. It's not that they're incompetent or there's no will there. They actively want to do this to us. It is high treason. There's absolutely no other way to describe it. What they are doing to the British people is high treason. They are allowing an illegal invasion to come into this land. And like I say, last time that happened, 2,000 years ago, Romans came in. Didn't work out so great for us then. 1066, the Normans, didn't work out so great for us then, but we managed to survive and we've held our own. Now, the people who are supposed to be defending us against invasion are actually welcoming it in because they are all part of that particular problem. And the first thing that they do, the cowards that they are, and reason why they are complicit in everything that goes on is because they will immediately hide behind, we can't really do anything about it because we're still in the European Court of Human Rights. Any natural leader who threw away all of the bullshit that we were going through with regards to the EU and all of that crap would say, that's going straight in the bin. We're not going to respect that anymore. We're going to properly take back our borders, and all that's in the bin. because we're going to repeal that. We're going to put our own thing in place, which basically says nobody else needs to come in. There's never been any need for it ever in the time of Britain. We've never needed immigration ever. So we're going to stop it 100%. We're going to start throwing out all the illegals who have no right to be here. First destination is France because that's where they've come from. Sorry, France, that's your problem. If you don't like it, chuck them back over the border at Italy, chuck them back over the border at Switzerland, wherever they've come into your country from. That's now your problem. And then go to Spain, Italy, Greece. You need to throw them back over the bloody Mediterranean into Africa. Then it's Libya's fault. It's this one here. And oh, by the way, before we do that, we're going to biometrically tag, and we can, like I say, the system, the machine, the monster, it can track every one of us, our movements, and see our faces and pick us up. Well, we're going to use exactly that same technology. And you step foot anywhere near Europe, you're immediately sent straight back to Libya or to Morocco or to Tunisia. That's what we should be doing. The fact that nobody even wants to champion that. You know, you got all these people who say, oh, this immigration thing, it's quite a disgrace, isn't it? But none of them will say what we all should be saying, or what we want them to say is, yeah, well, we should be chucking them back. Well, we can't because once the European Cup, I'll throw it in the fucking bin then. Yeah? That's what they should be doing. But they don't do it because they're complicit. And they're not only complicit, they are actually all on board with it. Now, if that isn't the epitome of treachery, you know, treachery towards the people of these lands, then I don't know what is. Because if you enable, and if you're enabling an invasion of your country, you're a fifth column, you're a traitor. The media are fifth column propagandists pushing for all of this. Because obviously, when you see the newspaper stories, it's some woman with a little baby. Even though we know 99.99% of them are fighting age men.
Yeah.
So, you know, can somebody explain to me, you know, and I would love 5 minutes in Westminster to put these questions to them. Can you explain to me how what you're doing isn't high treason? Because I don't care what's written on a piece of paper in some bastard country, in The Hague or wherever the fuck it is. I'm interested in, what are you going to do for our people right fucking now? And the first thing you need to do is say, right, all bets are off. These lot are going straight back on the boat and think themselves lucky that we didn't send the fucking Navy out to do the job that they are there to do, right? And we're sending them back to France. It's your problem, France. I'm sorry. If you don't fucking like it, your southern border, send them across there. Now, fuck off. That's what I would say to them.
This is another thing that gets me. Go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to say, just adding, maybe I worded it wrong, Sensum. I think we've got the resources, is what I was trying to get at. We have the resources to deal with the problem, but there's no one there willing to use them. You understand what I'm trying to say?
No, it's not a question. Well, yeah, they don't want to use them because they're all on board with it. That's why.
Yeah.
Because
so it's malice.
Any one of them. Well, yes. It's malice and it's manufactured, and it's also because the 650 traitors who sit in Westminster, it's no different in Stormont, Holyrood, or Cardiff. Yeah, because they're all traitors as well, and they're all traitors in the local councils, apart from the odd independent candidate that people might have some respite from. But all of the main party politicians, from local councils right the way through to government and the opposition, are all on board with this. Therefore, they are all traitors. There literally is no other way of stating it. It's a fact. It's a fact. They are traitors.
There's a war criminal Blair. Before he got ousted, he changed the treason laws in Britain, did he not? It used to be you could still be hung for treason in Britain until he changed it. Did he know something we didn't?
Yeah, because he knew his neck wasn't too far from the rope when the reckoning was to come.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of things here for you to watch, guys. Some of this stuff Jack has sent me. So the Irish asking questions, and then I'll get your opinion on it.
Question: why aren't you out fighting the war in Ukraine? Why are you here?
No English.
No English. And where are you from? And why aren't you out fighting the war in Ukraine? Protecting your country. Then coming here and living in our country.
Where's all the women and children? Why is it all men that have suddenly arrived in our village? You should be ashamed of yourself doing this. You're going to destroy this village. No women and children at all. No women and children, just men. Disgraceful. Disgraceful. Go ahead, take a photograph. I'm taking photographs of you. 200 men in this village.
Sorry, you're private property. We just asked you to leave.
Yeah, never mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, good man. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Sorry, are you staying in the nursing home? In the nursing home, you are all staying in the nursing home. I'm just wondering, where did you come from? Because I'd like to know. I live here. I want to know where you came from and why you are here. Yeah, where are you coming from? From Georgia. And what's going on in Georgia?
Yeah, what is your problem?
Where are you coming from and why are you here?
We are allowed there or what?
No, you're not allowed.
AK knows.
Is there a reason for this? Why we're seeing more and more centres just accommodate only male asylum seekers?
Because a majority of international protection applicants are single males, and that's, I suppose, that is the necessity to provide accommodation for them. I think it is also important to say that, you know, in Ireland, nobody does have a veto in terms of who lives within their neighbourhood, who lives within their community.
Now, gentlemen, I find that last statement there very interesting. The local community have no veto on who lives in their community, in their own homeland. Thoughts? We'll start with Jack.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's lovely to see people pushing back at this. You know, I don't think just pushing back is going to solve the issue. The issue lies with the Sensum calls them the traitors that are allowing this to happen. These undocumented people are flying in from Europe, mainland Europe and London, and destroying any documentation on the way, claiming asylum. And then, like you say, they're being shipped middle of the night to these places, even where my mother lives down south, little picturesque place by the coast, and that big hotel's been completely taken over. And the locals are finding them hostile and don't want to go near the place. I think you've got some footage later from little towns down south where girls are out on a night out and they've got men throwing themselves at them. And when the locals intervene, the men get hostile and want to fight. You know, like Sensum said, that you shouldn't have to teach people that you can't rape when you get here. It's yeah, well, there's my little take on the Irish. It's lovely to see people getting out there. Obviously, they're being tarred again. They're the far right in Ireland. Little old ladies out just wanting to protect
81 years old. She was far right, apparently. 81 years old.
You know, so you've got the same enemies, the NGOs.
Your mother was at that same protest, was she not?
Yeah, my mum was at the freedom of speech one. I think that was a week ago yesterday. Yeah. That's the first thing like that she's ever been to, because, you know, she's had her head turned by all this. Yeah. Over to you, Sensum.
Well, like I say, they're in the same position as we are, because there are protests going on in this country, and once again, they don't achieve any form of mainstream media. I mean, if you just look at some of the activist groups over here, they go regularly, and the work that Active Patriot, Steve Lords and James Goddard and them are doing, you know, identifying these places where migrants are going in. And once again, it's pretty much the same thing. You know, you see a rake of them, where are you from? And given, you know, these lads who are here, they'll say, oh yeah, I'm from Jordan, or I'm from Georgia, or from wherever. And then all of a sudden, you know, like you say, you get the other economic migrants. So we've got the illegal immigrants, the illegal invaders, if you like, stand talking to the private journalist, you know, a Steve Laws or a Active Patriot, and as soon as one of the economic migrants on minimum wage paid by Serco to man these outfits, they come flying out. Oh, you can't you can't film this. And also, do you remember the bullshit, the quarantine bullshit in Heathrow, where we had people who'd come in and they had to be quarantined for 14 days, which they had to pay for, by the way. They weren't getting free anything, unlike these illegals. So our own people coming back in on a British passport, 14 days quarantine, and they were allowed out an hour a day. And you saw a person go past, just with a camera saying, "Oh, what are you doing here?" "Oh, it's the old quarantine thing." "How's it going?" "It's not great, but it's all right. Not in any harm." And then all of a sudden, some Massambula turns up and start telling, two British people that they can't talk to one another. He wasn't a fucking prisoner. What right of it is of you to tell us that we can't talk to one another? They were just having a normal chat, just saying, "What's this all about then?" "Well, it's a quarantine place." But they don't like filming. They don't. This is the thing, And these people, like I say, these economic migrants that have been put security on, whether it's quarantine things or whether it's migrant camps or anything, they are being told up front, as you quite rightly said, anybody snooping around, put a clamp down on that straight away, even though it's illegal for them to do that. And they go around by saying, "Yeah, this is private property. I'm on the fucking road, mate. Yeah, nothing you can do. I'm on the road. And I'm speaking to, is he and that's what this person actually said. Is he a prisoner? No. Well, I can do what I want. Thank you. Rock on. You know what I mean? It's not your say, sunshine. But this is the mindset. And the hell of it is that 2 years of utter complicit sheepery by our people has shown these evil demons in Parliament what they can get away with. So next thing, as we say, we always, on our side of the fence, we always said, this has fuck all to do with a virus. This is to do, these lockdowns and that has less to do with the virus. It's feeling the water because their actual goal is to conflate all of these measures with climate, which is what they're going to do. And then we're going to have similar kinds of enforcers doing that there. So, you see things like that, Oxford by 2024, you're going to be allowed out of your 15-minute bubble 100 times a year. I'm sorry, Oxford fucking Council, who made you the fucking king? This is not your walled fortress. And I'll be telling you, any of those electronic measures and that will be tracking or doing anything like that, well, I'm not advocating anybody was to destroy them and that, but they don't look particularly fucking strong, if you get my meaning. Do you want to be a vassal, bloody servile minions of a power structure that hates you, doesn't represent you, and just does everything for its paymasters on high, the globalist paymasters, these global evil demons that are doing this onto us? So like I say, Ireland's doing that there. And then once again, another traitor in Ireland, because their parliament is just full of traitors. Yeah. And they're just saying, you've got no veto where we put these people. Have we not? Oh, fucking make, we'll put
that was Sinn Féin, the communist Sinn Féin.
Yeah.
Brits out, Africans in.
Well, we don't care. And they, like I say, the thing is, they're saying they have no veto. Well, in that case, then, all of these people, so, you've got the Irexit people, the Irish National Party, wherever it is, the Irexit people, they want to leave the EU. For every single person who are campaigning to do those kind of things, then the people who are completely and utterly fed up with the government overreach because of all the shit over the last 2 years, because of the government's nonsensical plans to go to net zero. I mean, Ireland, the size of it, what does it produce? The square root of nothing. And yet they're going to decimate their people the same as what they're doing here for no frigging good reason. So the green screen Zelensky can pay $8 million for his fucking family to get a holiday home in Israel. Yeah, that's well spent money. And so he can appear on the cover of Time magazine. So him and his missus can be in a photo shoot in Vogue. It's just a bloody Ponzi scheme. It's a bloody money laundering. That whole bullshit that's going on over in Eastern Europe, all it's doing is destroying European stock, killing our, boys and girls. That's what it's designed for, to wipe out even more of us, but in the process to be used as just one big money laundering scheme. And it's completely and utterly fucking transparent. And anybody who thinks that it's all to do with, some form of struggle needs their bumps feeling. They're absolutely delusional. And this will just continue. So like I say, the only way the Irish people, in the same way as here, is that you make your utter contempt for these traitors 100% known at every single opportunity. If there are council meetings there, go and tell them how much disdain you hold for them, because they're traitors as well. Like I say, there may be the odd independent character, but the mainstay Tory, Labour, Lib and bloody Green and SNP councillors, they're just all traitors, treacherous demons. Like I say, we get the odd bloody party pop up every now and again that gains a bit of traction. I mean, that new one with Richard Tees, once again, is just controlled opposition. It would be the more favourable option. Do you think he's going to change anything? No, if they got anywhere near power? No, they'd do the same as what Farage did. They'll either disappear like a fart in the wind or they'll do fuck all. That's what they all do. So,
I always said Farage, yes, he got us Brexit. Yes, that's dead on. He done one good thing in his life. He actually said when we were going through Brexit that we could, if we got out of Europe, we could bring more black doctors from Africa.
Well, the real thing of it was, Farage, after the Brexit result, Farage was on a crest of the waves and the Tories were shitting themselves, because had he decided to stay on and to push that through, he could have. He's had 2 chances to destroy the Tory party. 2 chances.
Yeah.
Both times, when it got to bite the bullet and it got time to let's stand all these parties, he took a back seat and said, well, I'm not going to go up against the Tories because that could guarantee a Labour government. Well, it might have guaranteed a Labour government, but it also guaranteed the utter and complete destruction and decimation of that cancerous bloody Tory party. That's exactly what we want. It's not Labour we need to worry about, it's the Tories, because they pretend like they do shit for us and they do nothing. We need to get rid of them. We need to get rid of all of these parties. You know what I mean? So he had a chance then. He had a chance with his Brexit party, and once again, when it came the point in time to stand elections, he took a back seat, and it gifted Bojo the Clown a massive 80-seat majority in Parliament. They could put through wherever they wanted, and the only fucking things they've done over the last 2 years or 2 and a bit years, nearly 3 years now since then, right, has been to do exactly the opposite of what we wanted from Brexit, to lock us down with draconian totalitarian tyranny laws over the last 2 years, and to make every fucking thing in our life, whether it's fuel bills, inflation and all this other bullshit, absolutely miserable as hell. Thanks, Tories. Thanks for using that 80-seat majority for basically fucking the British people over time and time again. They need to be destroyed. They need to, it happened in Canada. The Tory party, the Conservative Party in Canada, went through a spell just like this, and they had a massive majority at one election. The following election, they got 2 seats. I would hope that the Tories never got another fucking seat in my life. But if a Richard Tees is going to do that, or if Farage, the great white saviour, if you like, the great white hope, as he used to push himself, not in the racial terms, but in the literal terms, if you like. Yeah. If he rocks up again to create some new kind of party, yes, he'll get traction, and he'll take all of the the votes of people. I would be voting for Tory, but I'm going to do this, and he'll play that mantra, get all the people riled up to get ready to vote for Sir Nigel, as the people like to say, Sir Nigel, the little hint, that he should be knighted and all this bullshit, and they'll get behind him. And he'll have all that traction, and at the 11th hour, he'll turn around and say, well, the worst thing that we could do, the same fucking argument, is if we let Labour back in. Yes, we all know Labour's going to be terrible, but, it can't be any fucking worse than what the Tories have been over the last 3 years. But the bonus is, even if we do get a shitty, crappy, awful, terrible Labour Party, at least we can destroy the Tories, and those few, and I would imagine there'll be a few, the few people in that Tory party who are not all on board with this but get whipped the chair whip into going along with these things because of political bloody machinations of that godforsaken party, you might be able to solve it. You might be able to create something out of that ashes of that corrupt phoenix to build something better that might actually work for us for once. But the problem is these people who have been in those roles for, 5, 10, 15, 20 odd years, even plus that, they know how to play the game. But when it comes to pay the piper, they do nothing. They do nothing. They just sit there and talk and say, "Oh, well, this is a disgrace for the British people. Put your head on the block." Well, I couldn't possibly do that. Well, no, because you're a traitor.
Yeah.
Your lack of action, positive action in favour of us by taking a back seat. You're worse than the people who tell us to our faces what they're going to do to us. Do you see what I mean? That's why there's such a hateful crowd.
Yeah, but there's Ireland for you, and the Republic. They have the National Party, National Freedom Party, and they have the Irish something party, and there are two what I would call right of centre parties, and what they want is Ireland for the Irish, but they're always bickering between each other. Because one leader, he walks around with 4 bodyguards because he fucking needs them because of the amount of leftist twats down there. And your man sort of depicts him as Hitler with bodyguards, because he wants to do this and wants to do that. But the guy that's talking about this is your man, what do you call him? Herman something. He's actually Londonderry, but he's in an Irish party, and he calls them Nazis. Yet he wants the exact same thing. So how are you ever going to win, Sensum? Where's Jack? Is Jack falling asleep?
Can I just want to weigh in on the Ukraine thing, because I've been vindicated this week, because I've said from the beginning, my whole viewpoint in it, the reason America are so heavily invested in this is because they want a share of the liquefied natural gas market that Russia supplies to Europe. And this week, a deal was struck with between Biden and Sunak, and America are going to be supplying a huge cubic volume of gas that's been acquired through fracking. And we've banned fracking for the green agenda. So the absolute hypocrisy of that, and that's I've said it since sort of February, not a few days after the invasion. It works out to me the reason America are so heavily invested in it is to take the energy market away from Russia.
Richard Case, he does his figures, he does his numbers. He's a businessman. Now, according to him, the reports from the scientists are that under our feet in Britain, England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland stuff, there's enough shale gas to keep us going for 1,000 years. There's enough oil to be drilled in the North Sea to keep us going for 1,000 years. And coal. What was England built on? Coal and steel. There's still plenty of coal. Then you get the leftards out complaining when they open the new mine for coal. But the coal isn't for the power station. It's actually for the steel industry, because that's one of the few industries that Britain has left, is the steel industry. And all them pricks out in their, PVC jackets and all. What's PVC made from? And they're what do you call that? Stuff clothes is made out of. It's all made from oil. The leather from their shoes is made from animals, but they don't want you killing animals either for meat or a bunch of weirdos. This is the one I wanted Sensum's thing on. Where is he? I've lost him. Have I lost him? No, I haven't lost him. This, guys, is about 4 minutes long. It's a bit long. I can cut it short if you want, but I just want to show you the hypocrisy of the British government. I'll click it in now. Now, he is questioning the ambassador of
social media. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Your Excellency. I've got a few questions for you. You did describe Albania as being a country with a warm heart, a very safe country, a welcoming country, a country where people from the UK like to take their holidays. So I'll take your word for it. And you also suggested that the vast majority that's coming over are economic migrants trying to set up businesses, not genuine asylum seekers or people escaping slavery. Now, I've looked on the internet at flights coming from Albania. You can fly from Albania for £28 to this country directly. So I think it's about 3 hours 20 minutes or something like that. The journey on the bus and then on a dinghy is a perilous 40, 50, 60-hour journey costing thousands and thousands of pounds, which people pay to people traffickers. Could you explain to me, why do you think people are paying up to £5,000 just get here illegally rather than pay 28 quid on a Wizz Air flight from Albania?
Can you repeat the last question?
Could you explain to me why people are prepared to pay thousands of pounds to people smugglers, to traffickers, whatever you want to call them, rather than pay £28 on a flight from Albania?
Is exactly what I have asked just from the beginning, because they don't have the possibility to apply for legal migration. That's the problem, and to apply for visa, because
No, let me come back to you. Why can't they just visit the country for 28 quid and then claim asylum?
Why?
Yeah. Why can't they claim? Why can't they visit the country for £28, travel on the plane for £28, come, i.e. on a holiday, and then claim asylum? Why can't they do that?
I don't have this information.
So you do have this information. Why can't they do that?
Well, I can't suppose why they do that.
Is it perhaps, do you think, because if they come legally and produce a passport and documents, that our authorities, our border control, know exactly who these people are, where they're from, and any activities, illegal activities they may be involved in the past? Do you think that may be the reason?
Well, I don't have any answer for
Why not? Why don't you have an answer for that?
Because I don't know people that are coming legally apply for asylum.
I'll put it to you then, Ambassador. I think, is my theory, that people come in and paying thousands of pounds to get here illegally, making a perilous journey, that probably quite a high proportion of those are going to be involved in some sort of criminal activity when they get here. Would you think that's correct?
Well, the answer is that no one came here to be involved in criminal activity, because in general they know what happened if you are involved in criminal activity.
Okay, so
normally they are coming for legal. Normally they are just economic.
Do you not agree that they are already criminals by coming here illegally, by entering this country illegally, and then making bogus asylum claims? We don't know very much, do you, Ambassador? I'll give you another question. Is it fair for the British taxpayer to spend millions and millions of pounds putting up Albanians who've come from a safe country in hotels?
Well, I don't know the legal framework that.
Okay. Do you think the Albanian government?
It's not my responsibility to answer the question.
Do you think the Albanian government should make a financial contribution to this country for housing Albanian migrants?
Give a contribution?
Yeah, financial contribution. It's costing millions. No.
Because it's not the responsibility of the Albanian government.
Really? Its own people aren't responsibility?
Yes.
So people that supposedly...
These people, until border with UK, in France, Germany, elsewhere, are coming as a normal tourist.
But Ambassador, this is not free movement. This is people entering our country illegally. Now, you say that your country is a warm and welcoming country with a big, massive heart. I'll take your word for that. So if you've got a big heart and you want to look after Albanian people, do you think you've got a responsibility to make a financial contribution to this country, to our government, to look after your own Albanian people when they get here?
Well, there is no reason to give a contribution.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Jack, your thoughts?
I mean, well, what can you say? I mean, you can tell for the way he answered the question. Kind of answered the question, evasive, stalling for time, and that he knows he hasn't got a leg to stand on as the ambassador for Albania to the UK. Is that who he is?
Yes, Albania.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd expel all the Albanian diplomats anyway. I'd get aggressive with the country. I wouldn't want anything to do with them.
But that statement there, not their responsibility. That's the kicker. I know Sensum will have a lot to say about it because it's beyond a joke. But that's the only Conservative MP I've actually seen question them. I haven't seen any other one. Lee Anderson, I think, or Anderson. And he was right. He pulled them up. He literally fired the questions at him. You can come here on a flight for 27 quid on one of them cheap, easy things, but they're paying 5 and 6 grand to get here in a dinghy. And then they're out celebrating the Albanian Independence Day in £100,000 Mercedes Benzes, doing burnouts in the middle of London and blocking off all the traffic and doing their traditional dance. If Albania is that fucking brilliant that you want to celebrate it, why aren't you fucking there? You know, sorry guys, it really fucking boils my piss. Sensum.
Well, he was absolutely right as well, what he pointed out, the MP, because the people coming here, by that mechanism, literally are career criminals. And that's great for Albania because they get to offload their criminal element and prison places effectively onto the UK. And then they can claim that they're one of the safest countries in Europe because we're now Albania's open prison. You literally couldn't make it up. Like I say, if you can get here, you can pay £5,000 to get here, going through various countries overland and then a perilous journey over the channel, or you can pay EasyJet 26 quid. Why would you take the first option? Well, because you literally right what he said. Because you don't want to show your passport. You don't want to have any record of who you are, because as soon as that sort of passport gets swiped through, if it's linked up to Interpol. But I honestly, and I'll say this unironically, I honestly don't know why the Albanian blokes don't chance it for 26 quid, because chances are our border force are so shit, they'll never know. We'll let them in. Yeah, in you go, mate, champion. Yeah, oh, put your card in here. Bloop. Oh, yeah, that's fine. And then, 8 months later, oh, you let this person in here responsible, for 7 murders across Eastern Europe, Did we? Yeah, and he's disappeared and, disappeared like a fart in the wind now. Oh, sucks to be us, doesn't it, eh?
But there was somebody advocated for having politicians actually sponsor these people.
That was me.
So, it was you, wasn't it? Sponsor. Now that's a sensible idea. Sponsor him. If he comes here and he works and he does his bits and pieces, fair enough.
Yeah.
If he can do a job that can't be filled by a native British person, fair enough. But as soon as he commits a crime and gets 12 years for it, that MP gets 12 years as well.
Yeah, they become liable for the same crime. Yeah. This is where I came from, because I did a thing, I called it the accountability contract, which is a video on my channel, probably got about 10 views or something. Nobody likes common sense anymore. But I said that every single person, but basically, right, let me tell you now, this is the reality of the situation, yeah? Being a prime minister or being an MP should be the most mundane and shit job in with regards to it should just literally be a sort of a managerial position, like working out, right, well, we need to get these roads fixed, we need to get this done, we need to get those rebuilt, this park needs doing up. That's literally what it should be. They should have no that you know, they should have no thing. Oh, we're gonna be the first town in Britain. You know, these local dipshit little Napoleon type councillors. We're going to strive to become the first town in Britain to be net zero. You know, fuck off. Nobody cares. Nobody, no ordinary person sat in their homes right now, freezing the bollocks off, starving to death, are going to give two shakes of a monkey's toss what you fucking treacherous idiots in the local council are trying to do to sort of become, you know, little brownie points. Oh yeah, we'll become the first net zero. No, you're actually, you know, harming your own people. With the accountability contract, this is what would happen. You know, you want to be a public servant in this country, from the very high or the very low, you sign that accountability contract, and it would be the equivalent of a doctor's Hippocratic oath. Although after the last 2 years, they don't even demand that doctors do that now. The old first do no harm, another evil fucking thing. But you know, you've got this. So you want to be a public servant. You sign this accountability contract, which basically says if you do anything that's not in the interest of the people immediately under your jurisdiction. So if you're a councillor for this particular area and you do something against, you know, that harms that area, whether it be, you know, giving, you know, developers who pay the most, you know, the rights to develop land because you're getting the most kickback from them, or just you see how all this crap works. And the same would be for any public servant. It would be the same for the police. It would be the same for the civil service. It would be the same, like I say, as it would be for doctors and that in the NHS. You know, the first do no harm principle, the accountability contract, and then when it comes to, you know, it can either be a councillor, it could be a high-ranking civil servant, it can be a high-ranking member of the police force or ambulance, or, you know, NHS, or you know, any of the normal service, like, you know, the armed services, even all the way up, and hopefully the majority of all of Parliament. Yeah, so you've got 650 people. They want unfettered immigration. That's fine. That's fine. I will allow you that thing there. But before you do that, what you need to know is for every person that comes in, we're going to do it this way. Somebody has to vouch for that person coming in. So all of your Keith Vazes and your David Lammies who want all these people coming in from places that, you know, don't really need them, because, you know, they're not the best and brightest, like what we lied to about. You know, you're going to vouch for these people because you're convinced we need to get these people in because they are basically the things that hold, you know, they're the only things that are keeping the NHS going. They're the only things that are destroying the fucking NHS, basically.
Yeah.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's mostly diversity hires now.
Yeah. So David, Diane, you know, Sajid. So what's Sajid? Yeah. Okay, you want more of this shit to happen to us, fine. But you put your name on the dotted line, and these people you vouch for, they step out of line, you know, put a window through. It costs, you know, you get a 500 quid fine, you're getting a 500 quid fine. You know, they go on to batter somebody, you know, get 6 months, you're getting 6 months. They go on to rape somebody, then they get, not only do they get the sentence, they get deported. And after, well, I get 4 years, and I wouldn't even know, or 10 years or whatever it is, which is always far, far too less. But you're doing the same fucking time. Yeah. If we did that, and obviously they'll say, oh, you couldn't possibly do that. No, but you expect us to fucking live with it every day. You're not prepared to put your fucking name on the dotted line to vouch for these people who shouldn't even fucking be here. But you expect the British public to play Russian roulette with their fucking lives every single day, because you never know when one of these fuckers is going to kick off. You never know. It literally is Russian roulette.
Yeah.
So when you do have an incident like London Bridge, or you do have an incident like the Manchester Arena, you do have all that there. This, you know, if these people weren't sponsors, what we say is, well, because you've allowed it to procrastinate and to manifest, what we'll do is for every single death of an Indigenous Brit caused by somebody who shouldn't even be here, we've got 650 names in a barrel. If it's in England, I don't know many are in Holyrood or Stormont, but we've basically got a tombola. We'll spin the tombola. We'll get the Speaker of the House. His name's in there as well, by the way. You pick out the ticket. Oh, it's 794. It doesn't matter if it's a Tory, Lib Dem, SNP, Green Party. Your number's called, 634. Oh, that happens to be, it's Caroline Lucas of the Green Party. Right, Caroline, this is a 357 Magnum. There is, as you can see, we're showing you, there is a single bullet in that chamber. Zzz, there, it's spun. There you go. Put that to your head and pull the trigger. Well, I couldn't possibly do that. Why? Not every fucking chamber's loaded. You've got a 5 in 6 chance of nothing at all harming you. Well, this is ridiculous. Exactly. But you effectively want the British people to live with that same threat, because we don't know when the fucking chamber's loaded either. The difference is you're doing it through mass migration. We're giving you the decency of knowing something in your own hand.
Yeah.
And you know what the threat is. You know what potentially could happen. We have people just walking down the street get twatted across the head because they want to, nick a watch or worse, or people are just walking down, like literally people just walking down the street, and they get blindsided. They don't even know the attack's coming. They don't even have the chance to even retaliate or to defend themselves. They get smacked up the back of the head, and then when they're on the floor, they're being kicked in the head repeatedly. Oh, it's just cultural. Yeah, well, fuck you. It's not my culture, and that has no place being in this country. And yet you expect us to live with that threat every fucking day of our lives. You absolute fucking traitors.
Like a bombshell. There's a guy here who was only here, he was only in England off the boat 2 days or something. And he was arrested for raping an 81-year-old lady out on a walk and beating her to a pulp. 2 days he was here. Schoolgirls. There's now groups of parents policing outside schools that going in time and coming out time. Now, according to reports I've seen from other sources, there's actually, it's called them groups of vigilantes. What's vigilante about? Looking after your own people, It's literally not. You sit and you watch it and you think to yourself, well, if I had hair, I would tear it out, because these people have no idea. As you say, the crime, an MP that sponsors them, they would have to do the same thing. I always put it in the analogy of the barrel full of apples. I stick 5 poisoned apples in a barrel full of apples, juicy, lovely apples, and hand it to you. Are you going to fucking eat an apple? No. So one bad apple, none get a simple as. But then again, there was, what was it I watched the other night? Haven't seen it in a long while. It was the SAS, the Iranian embassy. Remember that one?
Who Dares Wins?
No, the latest one. Oh.
The 6 days thing.
6 days, that's the one. Now, the government knew what them people were like back then in the 80s, yet they still let them in. And people can't, people with a rational mind can't comprehend that. It's like a boy standing with a freaking machete, Lee Rigby. Now, that was Lee Rigby's 10 years. Was it 10 years, Dave?
Could be longer, mate. I don't know the exact dates.
I can't remember. And they still let them in. And it boils my fucking whiz.
But and then what happens is, when one of these people steps out of line, who are here illegally, it's in our right to just literally banjo them out. I've always maintained that anybody who's here either, have no right to be here or are on some kind of loose, bloody, spurious visa or whatever, they shouldn't serve time in our country. And this is what I'm saying, yeah. If we have somebody from country X, right, we should send them back to country X, give country X money, and say, put them in your terrible fucking prisons, because most of them are terrible. Yeah, we're going to pay you the money that it would have, rough approximation what it would have cost us to house these people, because these criminals, it costs hundreds of grands a year each. We'll give you that money. Oh, and by the way, we know your prisons are not really up to scratch, but hey, once they're in those prisons, that's your law. You can do with them what you will. They just need to serve this minimum term. Now, obviously, to save a bit of money, but that's not our problem. That's not our problem. Why should it be our problem? And yet, as soon as we even mention you've got these criminals here illegally, and what happens? Well, as soon as they go on to commit some heinous crime, all of the pearl clutches and hand wringers come out, but basically it's just another money-making scheme to defend them against being deported. You know, all this crap about, oh, it would be against their human rights because if they go back there, they'll get killed because, oh, you know, bullshit. What was the human right of the person they killed or the person they raped or the person they assaulted? What was their human rights? You didn't give a shit about them, do you? I would put an absolute stop to all of that crap. No more interpreters, no more legal counsel for criminals, wanton criminals who are here illegally. They get sent back to serve the sentence in their own country. We'll pay for the privilege. And if they're given a 10-year sentence and they don't quite make it, well, that's not our problem. That's their prison system. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. But
if you were sentenced to 10 years in the gulag in Russia, unless you were the strongest of strong, if you managed 4, you know, you were doing well.
Yeah.
That's not our problem, though.
If you go through the government figures, apparently it costs about £100,000 to keep a man in prison for a year. Now, we apparently, according to the figures, have 3,500 Eastern Europeans in British prisons as we speak. So, do the figures. That's what we're paying to keep somebody else's criminals. British taxpayers' money.
Well, like I say, we've paid Serco in excess of $4 billion, and you know the hell of that is that was to last for 10 years. But I've heard it's it'll be out long before then, before then, and that was only done about 2 or 3 years ago. Now, do you think the government will turn around, even though we're fucking skint? Apparently, will turn around and say, "All right, well, there's no more money for that. We'll have to start." No, what they'll say is, Serco will go cap in hand to them and say, "Oh, well, we need a." That 10 billion's run out. We need a bit more. Okay, well, we'll give you another 10. Well, actually, because the problem's so much larger now, could you give us 50 instead and make that over 5 years, please? Said slimy Soames, greasing his fucking pockets at our expense. And the thing of it is, because it's a feedback loop, money is robbed, thefted, stolen from our pockets as taxes, thrown at bloody privateers like Serco, and then they all get their beaks wetted in some shape or form coming back. It's a nice little feedback loop where the same with, green screen Zelensky over in Ukraine. Billions gets thrown at him. It goes through, what was his name? Some banking fraud, that young man. Some banking fraud of FTX. That was his name, wasn't it?
FTX,
some banking fraud. Yeah. Yeah, that was his name, wasn't it? Some banking fraud. I think that was his name. But
they lived in a villa, 11 of them, with a what did they call it? Polyamorous relationships, where they just ran about boffing each other. And did you see him? Jesus Christ, Helen Keller wouldn't boff that guy.
but like I say, that was once again that was just the feedback loop Ponzi scheme to fill the coffers of the DNC. And they've proven it.
Saxon's giving you a question there. Now, you mentioned Winston Churchill's grandson.
He's the chairman of it, so he'll have his fingers in that pie. But it'll be the usual people. The hedge fund guys will have shares in that. So BlackRock, Vanguard, all of the usual names.
WEF.
All of the like I say. There'll be loads of either former MPs, current MPs, or now people in the House of Lords who will have shares in that company, and they're getting massive profits. So, like I say, it trickles back. It's this feedback loop. They take a massive wodge of money. So, look at what the US have spent. It's like 110 billion that the US have spent on Ukraine thus far. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does a country like Ukraine get through 110 billion? Well, it doesn't, you see. It doesn't. Because that money doesn't actually destinate in various Ukrainian accounts. It goes into like holding funds, accessible holding funds. And also, because they need to make a return on investment, that money needs to also get, invested back into things like FTX and, some banking fraud. That was that bloke's name. There's no reason. Oh, by the way, the US judiciary is saying there's no reason to call him in for questioning and for interrogation and for a prosecution. No, of course not, because all the trails lead back to Sleepy Joe's lot, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not going to want to do that.
Was it Fox News? What do you call it? About Tucker Carlson? They had done a bit of investigating, and it wasn't actually financial aid that was sent. It wasn't actual cash. It was electronic money, and a lot of it was done in that crypto stuff. And it was funneled back to guess who?
Yeah,
the Bidens.
Well, it was funneled back to the DNC. It wasn't necessary, but but we know that the big guy, the big guy, gets his beak wetted. So what actually happens is, in this country, in America, all of the Western nations, the complicit, treacherous governments that we've got now, the ersatz democracies that we have now, they will throw from this country $500 billion at the sniffle, investing in all these PPE things. Then you find out, Andrew, he's got some kind of tie to these PPE companies. Oh, you can you stop noticing, please? You're not allowed to notice. You're just a conspiracy theorist. All right, okay. I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Will I still be a conspiracy theorist in a couple of months' time when it's come true? Well, we won't care then, because it'll be out of the public's mind, and he'll be playing up the jungle, eating kangaroo's ass, to try and reclaim his fucking political image, twat. But
he's finished politically, definitely.
Well, you say that, but there's nobody more slime-ridden than Michael Gove, and he seems to keep on coming. He's like the Peter Mandelson of the Tory party, isn't he? You know what I mean? He just absolute slime. But
it's like that fact that
this is what happens, and I keep explaining this to people, and some people say, "Oh, I'm not really sure," but you can see it happening in fucking real time. What's not to see? This is what happens. They take masses of money, every single money. They're trying to annex every single ounce of fiat currency that exists right now out of our arse pockets, making us desperately poor into the bargain. It goes into it goes into the privateers, whether it be through the injectables or whether it's through war or whether it's through climate. It all goes to the privateers. What do those privateers do? What are the likes of Bill Gates and Vanguard and BlackRock and all these people investing in? Well, they have invested in physical things. They're buying up land like it's going out of thing. They're buying up every single scrap of gold. They're buying up every single commodity market that they can get their hands on, because they know that fiat currency, because this is the way it's being manufactured, has only got a certain amount of shelf life. And when they decide to blow the bubble on fiat currency, in other words, overnight, the money in your bank account is worthless now. That's what Klaus Schwab says, when you own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, we'll own nothing, that's for sure, because when fiat currency gets decimated, so basically the money that's in your bank, or if you've got a few bobs tucked under your bed or whatever, that essentially becomes worthless. But what they've done is, with that worthless money, they've been able to annex every single asset in the world, and now you've got no currency or ability to buy a stake in that anymore. So this is the bit where you'll own nothing, and this is where we become, effectively feudal peasants. They become the feudal overlords, and we get to live in a state of communism. So, that's
Dolly has dropped the link in. You were talking about what's happening in Belfast. I don't know if you can pick that up there, Sensum. Let's see if I can add it to the screen. Chrome. Right. We can talk over the top of this because it's just it's a BBC report. Arabic lessons. It's respectful the Irish people learn my language. It's respectful the Irish people learn my language. Now, for a start, love, I'll inform you, we're not Irish. We're Northern Irish. We're Ulster people. They are the words of Muhammad his 14-year-old and moved to Syria, to Northern Ireland in 2019. Now, apparently, white children in a white nation have to learn his language to make him feel welcome. Now, your thoughts, Sensum?
I believe it or not, me and Bonnie Lad covered this story last night on Bonnie Lad's stream, and like I say, it used to always be the other way around, didn't it? You know, you want to come here, learn the lingo. I'll be honest now, you know, if I had any intention whatsoever to go to a, you know, outside of the Anglosphere countries or countries where the predominant language is English, then I would make an effort to try and learn the language, because that shows an element of respect. And like all the other people who we know who do live in foreign countries, they, and I'm not talking about the fucking pisshead Benidorm mob who, you know, I'm talking about people who go to fairly high trust societies like Japan, or go to places like, you know, our friend Chris Dangerfield go to Cambodia. He is under no illusions whatsoever that he is a second-class citizen in that state, and rightfully so. You know, that is the default setting. It's only the West that's been, you know, propagandized into thinking that no, these lands are for everybody, but everybody else's lands is for them. Well, how the fuck does that work? Even the Dalai Lama said, no, Europe is for the Europeans. And the woman who was interviewing, obviously, you know, she wasn't European, got a bit umbrage about that, but he's damn right. You know, Tibet is for the Tibetans, China's for Chinese, Russia's for the Russians, Sweden's for the Swedes. You know, there's only Western countries that get this forced on them.
Yeah, do you see Japanese taking freaking thousands of refugees from, you know, Uganda?
Well, they're trying now, aren't they? This is the thing. You see, they're trying. They are pushing in people now who are on this thing. And like I say, you don't want to go there, Japan. You don't want to go there. You are probably, as it stands right now, the most high trust society on earth. And if you want to remove that completely, you know, just like what Sweden did in less than a decade, go right ahead, go down the multicultural diversity as a strength route, and watch your country just get destroyed like anywhere else. And the other thing that really, really irritates me is, you know, all we ever see are adverts trying to tell our kids that you're not a boy, you're a girl, you're not a girl, you're a boy. Anything whatsoever to stop natural procreation happening, and trying to decimate the standard family unit. The only standard family unit you can have has to be a sherbet dip dab mixture of many, many different places and many different faiths or whatever. That's the only time you're allowed to have a productive relationship in the West anymore. So essentially, they are doing their utmost to demonize British, like, you know, the indigenous people of Europe as a whole, to not have children, protect the climate. You know, don't do this, don't do that. Oh, would you know, all of the adverts for things like assisted suicide, they're the only adverts you see where the entire cast is white. You know, they don't have, you know, a multicultural thing for those death pods that they're advertising. Oh, you know, a bit upset this week, like the woman in Canada. You know, she all she wanted, she was a former soldier, Canadian soldier, a lady soldier, who was injured and was a Paralympian, and she was having a bit of a struggle getting up and down the stairs. So she wanted asked the Canadian government, because they have a health service, sounds like it's pretty fucked like ours, wanting basically like one of those Stannah stair lifts put in so she could get them down. And they said, oh well, if your life's a little bit awkward, how's about your life's a little bit awkward, how's about killing yourself? You fancy a bit of suicide? I mean, who are these demons? It's absolutely terrible, but they will do absolutely everything in their nature to demonize European people from having kids. Oh, it'll affect the climate. Oh, do this. Oh, do that. And then in the next breath, and like I say, you can't have it both ways. In the next breath, they're saying, well, because of the fall in population numbers in Europe, you're going to have immigration. Oh, are we now? Oh, by the way, Rags, DJ's not streaming tonight, so if you want to run over a little bit,
we can run over, not a problem. Jack nipped off there. I assume with new babies and stuff, he's dealing with our things. But there you go. Sensum truth bombs. But that's what I was saying today, or earlier days, about driving into the town and seeing the young father with 3 kids around him. No missus. She's probably off working on Sunday. So he's doing his bit. But they tell us the population is declining. Oh, the population is declining. It's only declining in certain areas. It's declining in the city because people can't afford a house. It's declining in the larger towns, because there's not enough work. The house, mum and dad have to go out to work. 2 people have to earn a living just to get by. Not like 20, 30, 40 years ago where dad went out to work and mum looked after the kids and maybe mum had a wee part-time job. Stuff like that there. But it's all engineered. In my thoughts, and we're talking about, there's somebody who had mentioned it there in the chat, talking about Dangerfield. Dangerfield knows very well that he's a guest in Cambodia. This is why he doesn't say certain things on his chats and his shows and all. I'm sure he could tell us a load of different things about Cambodia. But they'd be knocking on his door someday. He was offered, what was it he was offered? He was offered money to do an advertisement, to advertise this. It was like what did he call it? A bum fanny. It was like just this silicone part of a woman, bum with a vagina on it. And they would pay him money to advertise this on his show. And he said no. He says if that came to his door through the post, anything that comes to him through the door or through the post in Cambodia is automatically checked at the border. He says they'd be around his door and pack his bags and deporting him straight away. The rubber band. But the pack of you, remember that one? It's like, what? Because they don't tolerate certain things. There's no porn in Cambodia. Yes, you can get prostitutes standing all around the street corners and all, and they have red light districts and all, but there's no pornographic material in Cambodia. It's illegal. That's Billy saying.
Well, like I say, that's...
There's a question for you. Can you see that? Some Billy blogs. What is it? Yes, the euthanasia kit in the UK. And then they showed me something the other day. Somebody showed me something the other day about you can actually volunteer your body to be made into compost.
Yeah, it cost you $5,000. It cost you $5,000. You'd have thought you'd get it for free, but no. Yeah. To get turned into compost, it's $5,000. Yeah, $5,000. Yeah. They
put you in this big heated tub and roll you around and roll you around and roll you around until you freaking just disintegrate. And then they put you on the roses or something. It's like unbelievable. So, but we were talking about, who was I talking to? It was one of the wee physios down in the wee centre I go to. And I was telling her all this stuff. And she was sitting there and she's like, I'm never buying M&Ms again. I'm never eating that stuff again. Because I was telling her where it comes from. I says, do you buy your kids M&Ms? And she goes, yeah. I says, you know the red ones? Do you know how they make them red? And she went, no. And I went, they crush up this beetle, this red beetle, into dust. And that's what they stick on that sweet. And that's what you're putting into your kid. And she was like, my kids aren't getting M&Ms ever again.
Yeah, that was cochineal. I don't know if they still use that, but that was how they used to get it, like that way. Yeah.
Moving on swiftly. What else did I have for you? This is just a quick one. Just to lighten the mood a bit. Do not drop lit fags. You ready? Apparently, he seen a hole and dropped a lit fag down it, and it was a leaking gas main. Talk about intelligence, like.
The hellfire. I wish I'd have known. I would have plugged me bloody, put a pipe in it and run it into the house. You could have sort of saved me a few bob there. Bugger. Has he seen the price of gas these days?
Just boom.
So,
and trainers everywhere. He's still alive, like, but I guarantee he doesn't do that again.
yeah, I just say people who just do the most idiotic things, you know. There was a wife on the other day, and she had a big fucking massive, I don't know if it was a boa constrictor or what's the other one? One of the squeezy snakes, but she had this bloody thing. Python. It was either a python or a boa constrictor, and you could see. I mean, I don't understand how these people own the animals that they own, because they clearly have no fucking idea. Yeah. And this snake was, you could see it was middle of shedding its skin. Now, basically, when a snake's shedding its skin, it's like being itchy all over, and it really turned grumpy. And a snake even has a scale over its eyes, so it can't actually see until the skin's gone off its eyes. But the heat sensing pits under the eyes, you know, the things that you can detect there's something a bit tasty, a bit nice, they still work. That's why even if they can't really see very well, they can still taste with their tongue, and the heat pits can pick up heat. And this one goes, oh, let's get him out and say thing. And this thing, you know, honestly, you look at it in its cage, it was only a small thing. I felt sorry for I'm not a great fan of snakes. I have the horrors about snakes, me. But I don't like to see animals, you know, kept like that, because you know, it must have been 2 or 3 coils wrapped around the sides of the tank that it was in. That can't be right. There's got to be something wrong with that. But anyways, in America, and she was like all happy, like, oh yeah, oh, he's such a great, you know, oh, Cy the snake, or whatever he was called, I don't know what he was called. Lifts the bugger out, now, you know, picks him up, and this snake's thinking, I'm not in the fucking mood for this. Picks it up, and the thing just turns around and bites her on the arm and just wouldn't let go. Just got her wrapped around her arm, so I'm fucking having a piece of you. And the bloke who's filming is going, oh, do you need a hand? No, it's fine. This thing's wrapping more links around it. No, it's fine. Then she goes, oh, well, actually, I think you could help me now. Eventually, they get it off, and her arm's pissing with blood all over. Oh, it'll be fine. I'm like, you fucking idiot. You know, first of all, the cage that animal's in, that poor animal, is inappropriate for the size of animal that it's become. You know, if anybody with sense, anybody with 5 ounces of sense, know that when a snake's shedding its skin, it's as grumpy as fuck. It doesn't want to be messed with, and yet it goes and does something like that. Yeah. So that, to me, that's no different to matey boy dropping a fucking tab down an open gas barrel.
I did watch one of them sort of programs. It was I was watching it on YouTube. It was people and their pets, and it was one of them big, massive freaking python things. And this guy had been working with them for years. And as you say, the scales grow over the eyes and stuff, but they have trouble getting it off their face, so they rub their faces on rocks and things to get it to sort of go before they can start to shed. But what he did is he held it and he pulled it really gently and worked with it and peeled it back. But him and his wife then could actually take the full skin and sell it on eBay. People buy it, you know, to put up on their walls. And he says that the money that he makes from that there goes to sort of look after the snakes that he keeps. But I don't agree with people keeping snakes. A snake doesn't belong in somebody's house. And then you get these ones buying. I'm sure there was a thing out there years ago that was about the turtles in the sewers in London and the alligator. You know, they buy them as wee tiny pets and they keep them in this wee sort of tank. And then when the kids get bored with them, they flush it down the toilet. And where's it going? You know, straight into the sewers. That's how we ended up with the Ninja Turtles, was it not?
Yeah. That's well, you know.
I didn't. My son had to have a freaking budgie, and I had a budgie before, and I would hold it in my finger and stroke it and look after it and do everything for it and stuff. It was for the kids, but I ended up looking after it. Years later, he said he wanted one, and I showed him how to look after them properly, and you do this and you do that and do the other. And one night he come out and I says, "What's that, son?" He's holding this thing. I said, "It's the budgie." I says, "Well, what happened to it?" He says, "I let it out of the cage and it flew into the window, broke its neck."
Oh.
You know, don't be bastard. It's like fucking moron. Well, snakes belong in Westminster. No, they're already there.
Nest of vipers, Moss Isley, a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Was it not Cromwell said that? Nest of scheming vipers?
Probably. He was a boon for the country as well, didn't he? He let another aspect back in, didn't he? Cheers. You know, you could have just kept it Puritarian and cancelled Christmas. You had to take that one step further, didn't you, you bastard? But anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, folks, I'm going to shoot off and I'm going to let Sensum get away because it's 22. Well, dude, I thought I had something else for you. I can't remember now. Did I? Oh, yes. Now, when you're thinking of them poor nurses and their pay raises, remember this, folks. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, at least they get doing some. I mean, I think that was just a no swear dance put to music. So they try to do some kind of public service. So I hope all of those illegal invaders that have those kind of proclivities will know not to enter those no square. It's cultural, Rags. It's cultural.
Yeah.
You know, it's an offence if we do it, but it's cultural if they do it.
I couldn't get to see my mother for 2 years for this supposed deadly virus. While they were dancing on TikTok, and that boy's my piss. You know, no.
Well, I'll just finish by saying thank you very much for having me on as a guest. It's been a good one, and I hope Jack's okay. And congratulations on the new arrival. And as far as I'm concerned about the last 2 years or the previous sort of, you know, March 2022 to February, March 2022, February 2022, this is my opinion. There will be no amnesty, there will be no atonement, and there will definitely be no forgiveness. You will have your fucking time in some court somewhere, and you will be found guilty, and there won't be any appeals.
But this is one from our friend, the Mr. Welshman, Joe Marsh. I forgot. I always play his latest videos just so people can get along. He's now started his own YouTube channel, and he's got some good guests and stuff on, and it is really interesting. But I'll let everybody see this one.
DARPL is a national conversation community for everyone involved in education in Wales. DARPL brings together a fantastic, dynamic coalition of partners who work together to challenge and support professional learning to support educators in their journey in anti-racist professional practice.
Hello, my name's Charlotte Williams. In 2020, I led work on the teaching of Black, Asian and minority ethnic histories and contributions to support the new curriculum, and a whole suite of resources, guidance and training has been launched on the forum DARPL, Diversity and Anti-Racist Professional Learning. So I urge you now to take advantage of these resources and engage with the professional learning in schools and in early years settings so that you will become the anti-racist practitioners that are going to make a huge difference to all pupils in Wales.
always like to give Joe a shout out. And the wee fella, I think it's a teenager, actually does them videos up for him. He's brilliantly. He's going to give me a hand to do some stuff up for my own channel. Like you've helped me out with bits and pieces. But I'd like you to come on, Sensum. Me and Jack are doing a Christmas thing, and it'll be a few hours long, and we're going to give everybody like a 15-20 minute slot, you know, go over what we've done this year and what's the plans for next year and stuff, and see if I'm just wishing people a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and things, and bringing it, because your stuff and Scott's Armour, I haven't seen Scott's Armour in a while now, DJ stuff, they're very good. It's community building. Toffee's now streaming. You have 42 streaming. 42's doing a lot more of our culture and our history and literature and things like that there, along with John Davis and stuff. There's so many of them, and even Simon Sideways has come to the white side. You know, he started another channel about white advocating for whites. I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen his new channel. Yeah, like I say, he's. I think he's going to do more of that thing on that channel. So if he gets nuked, it doesn't affect his other one, because he has got quite a bit of a following now as the Rev. So
yeah, well, he's two stripes. He's two stripes on his original.
Yeah.
So he's just hedging his bets, I would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Toffee's on tomorrow, 9 o'clock. He's got James Costello on as a guest, so that should be a good one.
Oh, if my mod with most, Steve Craig, can drop a link in there for that.
And James, I've actually been in contact with James today, and he said he's just tucked into a fantastic bowl of lobby tonight. So fair play to the man.
I don't know what 42's sort of different shifts and all, but he does a Saturday night, and then he done the poetry one with John Davison, which was interesting. You know, I read a bit of poetry, you know, but it's old, dark stuff. Edgar Allan Poe and things. I think my mum got me a book of Edgar Allan Poe years ago, and I think it's the only poetry book I've actually held on to and read from cover to cover. I just find this Ian Marzan. I haven't seen him in a long time. So, any you want to plug anything, Sensum, before we go?
No, the Nutcracker thing went out yesterday, and like I say, there's an accompanying music-only video called the Nutcracker, which is there was a live stream from yesterday morning, but then there was the actual video, and the video itself, the Nutcracker video, which went out last night at 7 o'clock under the list of videos, is family friendly. It's made for children, and it's just something you can have on in the back. It's about 25 minutes long, and it's just something you can have on in the background with some nice sort of Christmassy scenery, and obviously the Christmassy music from the Nutcracker. So if that's your cup of tea, get yourself over there and dip your bread.
I thought that it lacked the Little Drummer Boy, but I'm biased because it's the first part.
But that's not fucking Tchaikovsky, though, is it?
I know.
It's like saying, you know, that Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker was great, but it could have done with a bit of Ace of Spades, you know, the Ace of Spades by Lemmy. Could have done with a bit of that, you know what I mean?
But that's my child. You know the way you have childhood memories of Christmas? Yes. And when I was in primary school, I was in the percussion, and I was in the snare drum, I'd done the tom-toms, I'd done the kettle drum, and then when we done our Christmas play, you know, we're all standing there and mum and dad's sort of, you know, that old fucking camera thing and all looking at you. And I was there in the wee fucking red outfit with a hat and all. You know, that got me a gig in the Junior Ulster Orchestra for a fucking couple of years. But you know, it's memories. It's like smells. You know, mince pies. You know, roast beef and turkey and all, cooking, mum cooking stuff like that. There's stuff and cooking. You know, smells. It takes you back years to when you were a child. And I think a lot of what we do here is we're remembering a history so we can preserve it for the future, if that makes sense.
Whilst it's busy being rewritten, yeah.
Yes, while it's busy being rewritten, we're not letting it go. So you will be back on this week with...
on Saturday, probably with Bonnie Lad on Saturday night at 8 o'clock again. That'll be my... maybe it's in the middle of the week on my channel. Myself, Resisting the Lies, and Toffee might get up to something, probably I think 9 o'clock-ish perhaps on Wednesday. It's not. I mean, the other lads have said they can do something, but it's not firmed up yet. But we'll see what's what. So keep an eye out. You know, we might do something. The triumvirate of truth. That's what we call it.
A massive shout out to my co-host with the new arrival in the family today. I think the whole family will be like a dog with two dicks, just run about with bunch, you know. So there will be more coming this week, folks, and I think that's on the 18th. Me and Jackz doing our Christmas show. We're just going to get everybody that we had on. I'm trying to get 42 lined up, as long as he's not working. I have Chief Moody coming on. I have Andy Bootneck. He's coming, and I'll see if I can get. See if I can get Toffee on. I'll get Ian Marr and whoever. And it's just 15-20 minutes, just chewing the fat and recollecting and plans for next year, folks. But without further ado, I will say cheerio, goodbye, and we will play out with our normal Viking and one in chat for Sensum, please. Massively great guest, educated, well-spoken dude. And who else do I say? Dude, gentleman. Sorry, we don't say dude. Good night.
It's actually El Duderino.
El Duderino. Good night. God bless, or in my case, Odin bless.